What's up? A to Z Sports live on a Monday, a big week because it is training camp week officially in Tennessee Titans world as the players report to training camp tomorrow on Tuesday. There will be a press conference on Tuesday afternoon with Brian Callahan, and still not sure who else is going to be at that presser. And then the Titans hit the practice field for the first time in training camp 2024 on Wednesday morning and Thursday morning. And we'll be there with all the coverage and all the action this week and beyond for training camp. So we're going to have a big week, but a big month plus as football is unofficially back. We always had the feeling that football's back because training camp starts. It's not really back, but it's pretty damn close. We're getting there. And so, Jack, you and I today are going to kick off this week of training camp with 3 Titans training camp storylines that I will guarantee will be overblown. And Jack, you will get to agree or disagree with me and my 3 storylines that I think will be overblown. So we're going to have a great show, great week here on July 22nd. Feels like training camp start a little earlier this year than normal. And Zach's still off the show for the time being as we are getting geared up for the football season itself across the company. And so I am the age game master today. Jack, you are the age game guesser today. And I still have no idea who I'm going to present to you all for the age game on this Monday. So, Jack, welcome in. Hope you had a good weekend. Let's get it rolling.
Absolutely. Happy training camp week to everybody. Austin said it. We're almost there. It's going to be fun. You guys got to tap in A to Z Sports on all social media platforms. Let's start with Facebook today. If you're watching on Facebook, don't forget to like the show on the way in. Not even 10 likes yet. Let's get those numbers up. Let's hopefully get to close to 50 by the time we're done with our first topic. So as we're going on, don't forget to like the show. It helps us grow, helps us reach new audience members. All that stuff's good for A to Z Sports. Don't forget that sharing is caring. If you're watching on Facebook, please share it to at least one of your Titans Facebook groups so we can bring everybody in here. There's not a lot of people talking Titans in the national media. We're going to do that every morning. So go ahead and share that show if you don't mind on Facebook. Get your homework done early. It helps us out a lot. It's really good for A to Z Sports, so please help us grow the show. Next, if you're watching on YouTube, like I said, training camp week is here. Turn those notifications on by tapping that bell icon near the top of your screen. You don't want to miss an update. Even little tiny 10-second videos. We need all the content we can get after walking through this dry desert the past 6 weeks. So turn those notifications on YouTube. Next, if you're watching on Twitch, text that Twitch link around to your Titans text groups. If you're getting ready for work, you're already at work, you're almost off work. Kill an hour with us. Come on. We're going to talk Titans. Jump in the chat. Be active. Let's get the chat rolling. We're going to get hot this week in the chat, I'm sure. So text that Twitch link around to your Titans text groups. And once all that stuff is done, Austin, it's finally time to get the show on the road.
Yep, let's do it officially. Welcome to A to Z Sports, powered as always by the BetMGM app. I'm Austin Stanley. He is Jack Gentry, the Titan Up Podcast, and we are Nashville's on-demand sports talk network going live weekday mornings at 8 Central Time on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. Links to the show segment by segment on our Twitter X timeline. Also hit us up on Instagram, TikTok, and Threads for more great Titans content. Got to thank our sponsors because they make it happen for us, and they help out all of you, like Wilson County Hyundai. Make them a part of your new car buying process. Go see them in Lebanon or online at wilsoncountyhyundai.com. The Bone and Joint Institute, boneandjointtn.org, the region's destination for comprehensive orthopedic and sports medicine care. And Farm Bureau Health Plans. Get better with Farm Bureau Health Plans, and you can do it by getting a better coverage plan and by saving money by going to our link, fbhp.com/ATOZ. So, Jack, it is training camp week. And I'm happy to say that last Friday, you and Sam just about created a Titans fan base civil war with your organic, natural conversation that happened between Derrick Henry and the Ravens, and respect and fandom and love and hate and everything. So it was something where Sam called me and was like, "Hey, did you watch the show this morning?" I was like, "No, I didn't. I was doing another thing. That's why I wasn't on the show." He said, "Well, we had ourselves a day." And so it seemed like the rest of Titans Twitter followed suit and nearly blew up the fan base. But Jack, I'm glad to see you survived the weekend and you're back here.
Yeah, absolutely. It was a fun conversation on Friday. And, it it's a topic where a lot of people are really passionate about. I mean, we're talking about the face of the franchise over the last 5-6 years and the most talented player to probably ever wear the two-tone blue. So it was a really passionate discussion. I think the chat, I mean, it was pretty split. It was surprisingly split in my opinion, but Paul Karski got in on it. Derrick Henry got in on it. Arden Key got in on all of it.
Yeah.
So really fun stuff, but it's a new week. I got a little EA College Football 25 in me this weekend to cool off, and we're ready to roll on Monday.
Good. Well, I get my 2 cents in on the Derrick Henry thing as somebody who doesn't have the emotional attachment that you guys have. I think it's way more nuanced than anybody wants to believe. It's not one side or the other. You don't have to hate Derrick Henry because he's a Raven. You don't have to let up on your hate for the Ravens because Derrick Henry is there. If you like Derrick Henry, you can like it. You can like him. You can hope he does well. You can be happy for Derrick Henry's success and hate the Ravens all at the same time. It's not about the Ravens going 0-17 while Derrick Henry runs for 2,000 yards. It's not about that either. It's just very much individual. You can still appreciate a player and like a player and still hate the team they play for. You can respect Nick Saban and hate Alabama down to your core like I've been doing for the last 17 years. And Alabama and Nick Saban didn't even coach a team that I cared about. So you can still have good feelings for Derrick Henry and appreciate and love all the things that he did for your team over 8+ years. But you can also still hate the Ravens. So it's a lot more nuanced than what the Civil War looked like on Twitter this past weekend. But we move on. So let's go ahead and dive into 3 Titans training camp storylines that I, Jack, am guaranteeing to be overblown, just like the Derrick Henry conversation of the weekend. And we start by something I saw floating out there in the Titans ether, and that is the fact that Treylon Burks is a cut candidate, according to Pro Football Network's Dakota Randall, who put a cut candidate, not a surprising cut candidate, just a flat-out cut candidate for the Tennessee Titans this training camp. Dakota Randall writes on the Pro Football Network's website over the weekend, the Titans would rather trade Treylon Burks than cut him, but don't be surprised the 2022 first-rounder is outright released. Tennessee now has Calvin Ridley and Tyler Boyd in the roster and could decide to move on from Burks if he doesn't step up in camp. So we all know that Treylon Burks will be one of the biggest storylines in Titans training camp. There's going to be a lot of them, and there's going to be a lot of ones that are valued, that are legitimate, that are meaningful when it comes to what's going to happen with the Titans season. How will the offensive line develop under Bill Callahan? How will Brian Callahan institute his system? How will Levis take charge of the offense? And so on and so forth. But Treylon Burks either being traded or cut will not be one of them. So, Jack, I will ask you, do you agree or disagree with me that Treylon Burks being cut or traded will be an overblown storyline about Titans training camp?
100% I agree with you. And it already is an overblown storyline. And we've got some good comments coming in. Like, if you're wondering if the national media still is ignoring the Titans, the Treylon Burks discourse should tell you, or should give you that answer, that they absolutely are. And they have no idea what's going on in Tennessee. Where's Denise's comment? Denise had a good comment. Why cut someone on the low? You gain nothing to cut Treylon Burks here. I mean, this is a guy that, look, he struggled his first 2 years with injuries and consistency, but let's face it, Titans quarterback situation hasn't been very stable. The offensive coordinator situation hadn't been great. He's finally in a new system with an offensive-minded head coach who can hopefully bring the most out of him. And with Tyke Tolbert coaching him specifically at the wide receiver position, hopefully they can maximize some of that potential. But you gain nothing from cutting Treylon Burks. And if you do that, is there a guy that you're making room for specifically on the back end when you're talking about keeping maybe 6 wide receivers like we've talked about? I don't think there's a guy behind Treylon Burks that you feel comfortable with bumping him up and maybe hoping to pull something out of him. Like, you owe it to yourself to see what you can pull out of Treylon Burks. Like, with this staff, with Will Levis, if they can find a connection and build a rapport, even if you get 400 or 500 yards out of the guy, like, that's going to help the Titans at some point. If Hopkins or Ridley, who are both getting up there in age, go down, you're going to need a guy, and like NWI has been reliable for the last few years, but you're going to need another guy who's, a little more explosive or can get open down the field and make plays down the field. I get it. We hadn't seen a whole lot of that from Burks yet, but I think that there's a lot more to the Treylon Burks story. Like I think that obviously we all agree that he's really talented, and that build is a laboratory build. Like Treylon Burks looks like he was made in a lab. So you gain nothing from cutting Treylon Burks. You owe it to yourself to at least see what you can get, because we all know that ceiling is high.
I think the Treylon Burks conversation because look, this is not the first show, and unfortunately, it's probably not going to be the last show that we discuss the moving on from Treylon Burks. But I think the best way to sum up what I think is the Titans' stance on Treylon Burks is you've been one of the most injured football teams in the NFL the last 2 to 3 seasons. You just attained depth at a position of need, wide receiver. You just got depth. Why would you then move on from said depth? Like, you know how this has worked. Why would you cut your depth or trade your depth? No, you keep your depth because you know you're going to need it if you've been paying attention to the NFL. And so that's how I feel about this. And I have a problem with how this is worded because it is thrown out there as if it has inside information, to be honest. So I'm going to read the clip again. This is from Dakota Randall on the Pro Football Network. He's going through not surprise cut candidates, but just a cut candidate for every NFL team. And he's flat out states the Titans would rather trade Treylon Burks than cut him, but don't be surprised if the 2022 first round is outright released. First of all, any team would rather trade an asset than cut an asset. That is just a blanket statement. But when it's presented the way that it was presented in that article, it sounds like Dakota Randall and Pro Football Network have an inside knowledge and an inside path to knowing that the Titans would rather trade Treylon Burks instead of having to resort to cut him because that's how they're trending. It reads like that, which is inaccurate and not factual, and that is a dangerous way to present something. You could simply say, I believe the Titans would rather trade Treylon Burks instead of the Titans, and being so factual in a statement. There is a big difference in that, Jack, right? Like a big difference in how you present things with certain words. And it could be as little as I believe or I think or I hear that means a bunch of different stuff. But saying just straight up that the Titans will, yeah, that's a dangerous way to present something because I don't believe that's true at all. And I cover the Titans, and Dakota Randall and Pro Football Network does not on a local basis.
Yeah, see, and that's what sucks about this season and stuff. These stories are getting written, and if you're going to do one, all 32 cut candidates, you got to pick one for each team. And for somebody who's on the outside looking in, Treylon Burks' production, obviously with the first round label, it's not lining up. Like, he's been a disappointment. There's no doubt about it. But that does not mean it's time to cut ties with Treylon Burks, because what are you going to gain? And look, if you want to cut ties, do it after this season, where maybe he produces a career year, which isn't saying much because his numbers are so low, and that ceiling is pretty low right now. But say he goes for 650, 700 yards. Well, then his trade value next year jumps up a little bit. Maybe it jumps up a round or two. And then if you want to move on from him, if you feel like you have your answer, which I don't think you do yet, obviously, like I just said, it's disappointing. But I think there's a lot more that we haven't seen out of Treylon Burks yet to really feel comfortable knowing what the Titans have in him. If he has a big year, trade him after the year. Like you said, you're getting rid of your depth. You're getting rid of a guy who Brian Callahan's going to try and work in at all three positions. He succeeded in the slot at Arkansas, has barely played in the slot in the NFL. Only a quarter of his snaps in the NFL have come out of the slot, where he played he played 75% of his snaps in college. Mm-hmm. If you can get him to produce out of there, and we all know Brian Callahan loves him a big slot receiver, then that's a totally different story. And you're not tied to Treylon Burks, you're not tied to Tyler Boyd beyond this season. So figure out what you got before you move on from the guy. You owe it to yourselves for that. And that's what good GMs do in this league. If you can turn Treylon Burks into a 4th round pick, then maybe you do it if you feel like, he's not going to be the guy moving forward. But cutting him all out, you're just eating dead money, that makes no sense for this team, who's still trying to figure out what they have. Like, this is a team that's trying to curate a winning culture. It's trying to find answers on young guys and figure out how they're going to proceed in the next 2 to 3 years in terms of roster building. Figure out what you have in Treylon Burks before you get rid of him.
Yeah, I agree. And I have more comments on this, but we're going to go ahead and get the chat more involved here this morning with this statement. We want a fill in the blank approach from you guys today. Treylon Burks has a blank percent chance to make the Titans roster out of training camp. Fill in the blank. Treylon Burks has a blank percentage chance to make the Titans roster out of training camp. We'll get to all of your opinions here. Again, we're discussing what Dakota Randall said in Pro Football Network about Treylon Burks being a cut candidate. So we'll get to all of that here in a second. But first, I want to tell everybody about Farm Bureau Health Plans. They can help you out and help you with your health coverage, your dental and vision coverage all across the board. If you're Tennessean, Farm Bureau Health Plans has been helping you out for almost 78 years because they have been able to adapt and get better with time as generation and generation of Tennessean has gotten great coverage from Farm Bureau Health Plans. If you're out there wondering, man, am I really getting the best coverage out of what I'm paying from Farm Bureau Health Plans? You can probably do better. And Farm Bureau Health Plans can help you out. We've had employees go to Farm Bureau Health Plans over the years of our partnership to get better coverage as well, including last week. And I've been saying this recently. If you want better health coverage and you want to DM me on Twitter, you can do that, and I will give you the direct email to get rolling with Farm Bureau Health Plans, or you can check them out yourself by using our link, fbhp.com/ATOZ.
BetMGM.com. Use our code A to Z Sports. Get up to $1,500 back in bonus bets if your first bet misses. New users when you sign up, because look, now's the time to get in the game. It's the off season. There's some soft lines out there. Week 1 college football lines, week 1 NFL lines. If you've got a hunch, if you feel like you've got an edge, get in now before those lines move and the money piles in. There's, we're talking about season-long prop bets in the NFL. There's college football win total bets available right now, all on BetMGM, all easy to navigate. If you want to bet on baseball, Braves just signed Whit Merrifield. Maybe now's the time to get in. Hey. But download the BetMGM app, use our bonus code A to Z Sports, and get up to $1,500 back in bonus bets. If your first bet misses, do it.
All right, so we're asking you guys, what percentage chance does Treylon Burks have to make the Titans roster at a training camp? Real quick, King VC comes in with a super chat. Lock in, like the show. Super chat, lock in, like the show from our guy King VC. We need more likes on the show. Appreciate you guys. Big week as training camp starts this week. And I just got an email from Robbie Bourne. The Titans media availability, the press conference that is tomorrow, will be with Rand Carthon, Anthony Robinson, and head coach Brian Callahan. So the GM, assistant GM, and the head coach all speaking to the Titans media tomorrow afternoon. So, Jack, let's just reset here for people that are jumping in without the context. Pro Football Network's Dakota Randall says the Titans' Treylon Burks is a cut candidate and states the Titans would rather trade Treylon Burks and cut him, but don't be surprised if the 2022 first rounder is an outright release. Tennessee now has Calvin Ridley and Tyler Boyd in the roster and could decide to move on from Burks if he doesn't step up in camp. So we asked or presented this fill in the blank situation. Treylon Burks has a blank percent chance to make the roster out of training camp. So, Jack, I'll let you go to the comments on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. What is everybody saying here?
Guy Man's leading us off on Facebook with 65. Josh just a tick above at 70. Quay McGee's at 80. Jonathan 65. Connor Mayweather with our first 100%. 75% from Steven, 58% from John, 98% from Jordan Lowry, 95% from Corey. We got 75, 85. Eldon's at 100. American Toff, 500. Major Keys and IR Hoshi on the same wavelength today at 90. J. Rome's at a 60. Scott Weaver, another 100 here. Linwood's 90. Willie Madden's at a 50. Like I said, is 99. So is Darius. Jaron Myers checks in at 90%. Caleb's at a 70%. Bork, 96. Lane, 70. 90. 85. 75. Rashid, 99.9 because nothing in life is guaranteed. 100 from Connor. 100 from Robbie. We've got 90, 100, 95, 99. Really high numbers all throughout the board here, Austin. I haven't seen one below 50%. Van's at 70, 90, 80, 100, 90. He ain't going anywhere. 90%, he's fourth on the depth chart. 99.9, 75, 75. A couple more 100s. Austin, that's where I'm at. There's no way that Treylon Burks does not make this roster. If there was something to happen, it would be off the field stuff. Like an arrest or something, but Treylon Burks isn't that guy. He's not a problem off the field. You never have to worry about Treylon Burks and off the field issues. Those two things do not, align. So I'm at 100% because you need Treylon Burks this year. Not as a starter, probably, but you do need him as a guy behind the starters to, a guy who's played with Will Levis before, a guy who's capable of making big plays. And it really was, I just really feel like Treylon Burks was finally coming on. And then he got knocked out against the Eagles. Like that catch he made in the end zone might have been his best catch as a Titan. And it's so unfortunate because that concussion is not something he can control. Some of these injuries that he's had happen are not something he can control. They're not his fault. It's just unfortunate that he hadn't been able to sustain any type of momentum or consistency on the field. If he can stay healthy this year, we're going to see the best season Treylon Burks has put together as a pro. I feel very confident in that. Now, again, like it's a low bar that he set, but still, I'm at a 100%. Treylon Burks is going to be on this roster. How they use him will be very interesting to see. So I'm at a full 100.
So full 100. Flat out full 100.
No doubt about
it. Okay. So look, I think rarely on our show do we say things have a 0% chance or a 100% chance. We ask the 1 through 10 questions a lot. 10 out of 10 is a rarity. 0 out of 10 is not even an option. 1 out of 10 is obviously a rarity just as a 10 is. So I don't think it's 100%. I do think it is in the 90s. I think Treylon Burks, I'm going to say, has a 90% chance to be on the Titans roster when week 1 comes around. What am I leaving the 10% open for? Injury. I think 10% is open for injury. I think injury could also mean release. I don't think there's any way the Titans will trade him because if he is showing that he is worth trading for, then the Titans will keep him. I think it's either he's on the team, 90% chance he's on the team, 10% chance he gets hurt and you can't trust it and you got to find a roster spot. And that's a 10% chance that I have of that happening. So I'm a 90% chance that Treylon Burks makes this roster out of training camp. And the only reason is like, I'm a never say never guy. And so like, I want to leave the door open because I think it's hard to say that, 100% chance he's on the team because things happen. I think there's a very few players that are 100% chance to make the team because an injury that puts you on injured reserve for anybody is not making the team if you're out for the season like that, right? So we've seen Harold Landry as well a couple years ago tear his ACL on like the second to last day before roster cuts happened, and he was not on the roster, right? So I am leaving it a little bit open, but I'm going to say 90% chance Treylon Burks is on this team.
And the 10% is not because he's going to get cut if he's healthy. Like
it's all injury. It's all injury based. And most players would have a smaller injury percentage, but Treylon Burks, who has not stayed healthy in 2 seasons, has a higher injury percentage rate. So that's why I'm at 90.
Interesting. So you're at a 0% chance that he gets traded. That's where I'm at.
Yeah,
because like you said, if he shows something, they're going to hold on to him.
Yes, absolutely. And so just for fun, I put up a poll on YouTube. Treylon Burks has a blank percent chance to make the Titans roster out of training camp. I gave 4 options. I gave 59% or less. That currently has 3% of the votes. I gave 60 to 74%. That has currently 6% of the votes. 75 to 89% currently has 9% of the votes. And 90 to 100 has 83%, 84, 82, 84, as it's bouncing around. 84% of the votes going to 90 to 100% chance that Treylon Burks is on this roster. So I think we can flat out say that the storyline of Treylon Burks either being traded or cut will be a guaranteed overblown training camp storyline for the Tennessee Titans in the next 5 weeks.
See, that's why A to Z Sports has the smartest listenership in all of local media, right? What do you say, 87%?
It is currently at 80%. So more people. 80%. So 80%, 90 to 100, 14%, 75 to 89. So that's 94% of the votes are going towards a 75% chance or higher that he's on the team. And only
all right, 94% of the people watching this show know ball. That's all I gotta say. That's what you can deduce from that. But yeah, like Treylon, I just don't see a trade in the Titans' future before the season starts. There's no value you're getting out of Treylon Burks. Like nobody is gonna say, "Hey, I'd love to kick the tires on Treylon Burks. Here's a 4th-round pick right now." He hadn't done anything, so I just don't think trading him is a smart business move. And we look, and that's saying this after watching Rand Carthon be probably the most aggressive GM in football this offseason. But even he knows that they don't really feel comfortable with an answer on Treylon Burks yet. Like he's got to go out there and he's got to show some stuff before the Titans feel comfortable making a decision whether you want to cut him or move on from him. Like none of that happens, in my opinion, until after this season. So Treylon Burks is safe this season, but he's got to really show something if he wants to be on this team next season.
Yeah, without a doubt. I did see Karen ask, can you not do a poll on Facebook? No, unfortunately, I cannot create a poll on Facebook. That would be great if I could, but I couldn't do that for Facebook. So I'm just going to stick to that for YouTube. So a couple comments that I did like earlier in the show that I wanted to bring back, which is Shrike coming and talking about Dakota Randall's take here that the Titans would rather cut Treylon Burks or rather trade him than cut him here. And Shrike says, to me, it doesn't read like an insider. It reads like a guy that looked at offseason acquisitions and doesn't know the team he has to talk about. And so Dakota Randall did a cut candidate for all 32 teams. And it's really difficult for anybody that doesn't have inside track to know for sure who is a cut candidate and who isn't. But Treylon Burks is not a cut candidate for the Tennessee Titans. He's not a trade candidate for the Tennessee Titans. But for people that are outside looking in, they say that. But that's also the context and what I believe that Shrike is getting at and why I agree with him is because Randall says it's because of Ridley and Boyd. Boyd's a 1-year contract worth up to $4 million. DeAndre Hopkins is on a 1-year contract remaining season. And Calvin Ridley will be 30 years old by Christmas. So you're talking, and so will Boyd. And DeAndre Hopkins is 32. So that's the context that you have to look at is what is the position group as a full picture. And Treylon Burks is going to be a part of this position group for at least this year. And, next year, while his contract is guaranteed, I don't think you can say his spot next year in 2025 is guaranteed, but that's where you have to look at. So I agree with Shrike that it's somebody who looks at acquisitions and doesn't know all of the context that surround it.
Yeah, and Anthony Malley here, I hope my connection's holding up. Anthony Malley here says, I think you guys are a little biased. Local media is still high on this guy because of where he was drafted. This new regime doesn't care. Anthony, being high on Treylon Burks is like being high, period. I mean, he's shown nothing to make Titans fans feel like, he's going to do something special this season. I'm not high on Treylon Burks. The guy's got 1 touchdown catch in 15 games as a Titan in 2 seasons, right? His best season, he only put up 444 yards. He's never played more than 11 games in a season. These are all facts. You know what else is a fact? He's never been in an environment that caters to success, caters to wide receiver success like this one. Like, look at the 3 wide receivers in Cincinnati. Hell, Trent Irwin, a guy that probably less than 10% of the people in the chat have heard of, has had 100-yard games in Cincinnati. Like, Brian Callahan's system, they scheme people open. Like, you don't need to have Jamar Chase and T. Higgins for a quarterback to succeed in a Callahan system. So while I think that, obviously the first-round label, he'll never probably reach that. But I do think it's pretty obvious that this system is the best one he's been in, the best one the Titans have seen when it comes to pass first and a quarterback catered system. So he hadn't shown a lot yet, obviously, but I'm not all the way out. I've got one foot out the door. I'm not all the way out because on what Brian Callahan has shown that he can do with multiple receivers, and even under Jake Browning, who led the league in completion percentage last year. The ceiling is really high in a Callahan offense. So
Bryce says, see, here we go. Anthony disagreed with us, so he's automatically wrong. No, I'm not. I don't think that. I do disagree with Anthony because Anthony's comment was also one that I did like that I want to bring back because he said this Austin won't like my comment, but what he just said there that Jack read, that the local media is too high on Burks. This isn't, and where I think there's context here, is this is very similar to what when national media has a narrative that they think about the Titans that doesn't align with the inside the building thought, then that's where you have the situation. Let's rewind, Jack. You remember going into the 2019 training camp, national media, there was specifically one guy out of Denver who said that the Titans have a quarterback battle between Marcus Mariota and Ryan Tannehill. And that was just not true. And that media member took victory laps when Ryan Tannehill replaced Marcus Mariota after in week 7 of that season. But that doesn't mean that there was a training camp quarterback battle in August. There was no battle. You can say that Marcus Mariota had the job until he lost the job and still question Marcus Mariota. But that's not what was being reported. Right here, Dakota Randall saying that Treylon Burks is a cut candidate. He is not a cut candidate. But that doesn't mean that you're believing in Treylon Burks to be a difference maker for this team, right? Like both of those things exist simultaneously, and that is the situation here. I don't think Treylon Burks is going to break out. I think he has a better chance to be productive and efficient because there's less weight on his shoulders. But that doesn't mean I think he's going to live up to his first round pick. It doesn't mean I think he's going to break out and be a guy you can depend on. He's just not going to get cut or traded.
Yeah, and like Tannehill, Treylon Burks is more so of an an insurance policy. Like he's not as reliable as our guys at Farm Bureau. He's not as reliable as Tannehill was as an insurance policy, but he's an insurance policy nonetheless. Like you don't have a lot of talent, a lot of skill behind those top 3 guys. Like NWI's been reliable, and you can always count on him to be in his spot. And it feels like his timing has been down with with any of the quarterbacks the Titans have deployed over the last few seasons. But Treylon Burks, like there's talent there. Like it's undeniable talent. He's never going to live up to that first round label. But hopefully he started to realize that. He started to realize, hey man, like I don't need to go out there and put up 800, 900 yards just because I was drafted in the first round. Forget about that for a moment. Like it's going to hurt. The Titans missed on that pick, but that doesn't mean you can't get anything out of Treylon Burks. That doesn't mean Treylon Burks can't help this Titans team, as a role player instead of a main feature. So I think you have to look at it from that lens and just accept, hey, look, he's never going to live up to that first round label, and if you continue to hold him up to that, like you're only going to be disappointed. So if he can contribute as a role player, 500, 600 yards, shows up when he's needed, if D-Hop and Ridley go down for a game or two, that's good. That helps the Titans move forward this season and contend for one of those wild card spots, possibly a division title with your schedule if the kind of the stars align. Mm-hmm. So give up on that first round label with Treylon Burks. He's not going to get there, but he can still help you while also continuing to underachieve from his draft status. For sure. All right, let's go ahead. This title of the show is 3 Titans training camp storylines guaranteed to be overblown. Treylon Burks is the first one. We talked through that. Jack, you are in the dark on these other 2 storylines that are guaranteed to be overblown. So I will reveal them here momentarily. But first, I want to tell you guys all about the Bone and Joint Institute, boneandjointtn.org, the region's destination for comprehensive orthopedic and sports medicine care. Whenever an injury happens in life, you have to know who you can turn to and where to turn to make sure that you do recover from that injury and you get on and you don't let that continue to hold you back in life and take you away from your daily activities that you enjoy, just like I was able to do with my patella tendonitis just a couple weeks ago right there. The Bone and Joint Institute, boneandjointtn.org. They are the region's destination for comprehensive orthopedic and sports medicine care. They've got all the experts and the resources under one roof in Franklin, right off of I-65 and Highway 96, but they also have tons of and growing a lot of different clinics and physical therapy centers that are growing across Williamson County. So check them out right there. Book an appointment online, boneandjointtn.org. BetMGM.com new users download the app and sign up with our bonus code A to Z Sports, and you'll get up to $1,500 back in bonus bets if your first bet misses. You can bet on the MLB. You can bet on the WNBA, which is going on right now. If that's your thing, you can bet on soccer, some golf tournaments. and you can bet on NFL and college football props. It's really fun to get in the game before the football season gets going. So do it. And when you do it, use our bonus code A to Z Sports on BetMGM to cash in on that offer up to $1,500 back in bonus bets if your first bet misses.
Visit BetMGM.com for terms and conditions. 21 or older. Tennessee only. New customer offer. All promotions subject to qualification. Eligible comments. First online room money wager only. Rewards issued not one bets that expire in 7 days. And for problem game sport, call Tennessee Redline 800-889-9789. Jack, we've gone through and said that yes, we all believe that Treylon Burks will be an overblown storyline in Titans training camp if he's cut or traded. Here is my next, and I want you to agree or disagree, Jack. I just put this in the chat for everybody to read, but who wears the green dot? The green dot conversation will be overblown this Titans training camp. Agree or disagree, Jack Gentry?
Yeah, no, when you said that you were going to come with 3, I kind of put 3 in my mind as well. And
Okay.
I'm interested to see where you go with the third.
Was this one of them?
I totally agree with this. I think it's absolutely overblown. Obviously the primary communicator on a defense is important, but I think that any competent linebacker or potentially even Amani Hooker safety, like all of those guys are capable of relaying signs and getting people lined up. Like it's not that hard when you have a defensive coordinator like Denard Wilson, who has really hit the ground running, and he's pretty intense from what we hear from some of these players. They said that they'd be willing to run through walls for Denard Wilson. It's up to Denard Wilson to coordinate this defense. It's up to whoever wears the green dot to relay this, the plays on a play-to-play basis to the rest of the defense. Like the green dot stuff, most of that homework will be getting done early. Like most of that homework will be done on game week. So that way on Sunday, when the call comes in, all of these guys already know where to be because they've had plenty of repetitions in practice. They know where to line up because they're pros. And there isn't a lot of youth on the Titans defense. Like it's a pretty veteran-laden defense outside of that linebacker spot, whether it's Gibbons or Cedric Gray stepping in. But everybody else, I mean, they've been around for at least 3 years. So I don't think lining up is going to be a problem for this defense. Now, if they had a younger secondary, maybe a couple younger pass rushers, maybe it's a different story. But there's too many veterans on this defense to line up improperly after getting the call. So I don't think the green dot's a big deal.
Yeah, I agree with you. Obviously, I agree that this will be overblown because it's my storyline that I think will be overblown. And I also will guarantee 2 more things. The first time Denard Wilson speaks to the media next, and also the next time that Jamal Adams speaks to the media next, both will be asked, hey, Denard, will Jamal Adams be a candidate to wear the green dot? And Jamal Adams will be asked, hey, Jamal, would you want to wear the green dot for the defense? Like, of course they're going to be asked that question. And it's just going to go on and on and on. And each and every week, every time Denard Wilson talks to the media, which is about once every week to 10 days during training camp, he will be asked, hey, what's the progress in the green dot battle? It's just going to be exhausting. And like, does it matter? Yeah, but it's going to be completely overblown. So we agree on that one. So we won't waste any more time because it looks like the chat very much agrees that the green dot will be overblown too. So, all right. So the next overblown camp storyline that I think will happen during Titans training camp over the next bit is the fact that Will Levis is not going to be a franchise quarterback and is being written off. And this was from Bleacher Report last week, who said, I greatly respect the team's effort to put a better supporting cast around Levis, who's approaching his first year as a full-time starter. I'm simply not sold on them. Inefficiency and general inconsistency plagued Levis both in college and during his debut season with the Titans. Bringing in Ridley and Tyler Boyd, while admirable, doesn't solve Levis's week-to-week differences. So this next question, I guess, for you guys is, will Levis not being the franchise quarterback will be an overblown Titans training camp storyline? Agree or disagree?
It's hard to disagree, right? Like it's really a clickbaity discussion to have. Like Will Levis, obviously nothing that he showed last year is something you could say, all right, I'm all in on Levis. I'm totally convinced he's the next guy for this franchise. Like he was getting destroyed back there. He completed 58% of his passes. He won 3 out of the 9 games that he started, 8 touchdowns, 4 picks. And, a lot of those came against the Falcons. There was a stretch where he didn't throw any touchdowns. in a few games, but like the sample size is not big enough to have a definitive answer one way or another. I'm optimistic that Will Levis is the guy moving forward. And you know what? I think Brian Callahan is too. Otherwise, the Titans could have drafted a quarterback in the top 10 of the draft. But like they brought in all these different receivers. They hired an offensive-minded head coach to maximize Will Levis's, ceiling. So I'm all in on the idea that Will Levis can be the franchise quarterback, but obviously he's to show it in a regular season. Nothing he does in training camp, good or bad, is going to really sway me. But when the lights are on, Will Levis seems to rise to the occasion. So while nobody else is sold, and nobody really should be sold yet, because that's what this season is for, right? Primary objective, find an answer on Will Levis. That way, heading into next offseason, you can kind of move your pieces, move your chips, spend your money, in the right ways. But no, the answer on Will Levis is not cut and dry right now. However, I think he's shown enough to where Titans fans should at least give him a leash. And, I feel like he's shown enough to where Titans fans could be optimistic on him heading into this season. Like the franchise quarterback, who has shown that in 9 games? Like CJ Stroud, probably. But outside of that, it doesn't happen a lot. Like there's a lot of quarterbacks that struggle in their rookie seasons. Peyton Manning is a great example of that. Give Levis time, let that sample size grow a little bit, and then make your decision on evidence that you see on the field in the regular season.
So obviously, I do think this will be overblown. I'm talking about people that are automatically doubting Will Levis and sticking to what they thought about him coming out of Kentucky in the draft and saying that he is just a guy that the Titans are going to replace next year. Everybody who's mocking the Titans to have a top 5 draft pick and who will pick a quarterback, that's who I'm focusing on, because I don't think the Titans are viewing it this way. Obviously, they wouldn't. But yeah, I do believe that Will Levis not being the franchise quarterback will be an overblown national storyline. And it'll come in a lot of different forms, because I think it's going to come in like, man, the Titans roster is pretty good, but, Will Levis is going to hold them back, right? Like I think it's going to be a lot of that type of stuff.
And it's that second round label that he's got. Like if he was drafted in the top 10, if the Titans had taken him at 11, the Will Levis narrative would be totally different than it is. And that's just because of hype and draft buzz and all of this stuff. Like I'm sure the Titans were absolutely considering him at 11, but they were able to snag him in the first pick of that second round. And because he won the top 10 pick, top 15 pick, first round pick, then it's not as sexy as it would be. Will Levis is not a guy that the national media is saying, hey, man, like give Levis a shot. I think he can really do something. It's like, okay, well, he fell to the second round. Obviously, everybody saw the situation where he's waiting in the green room for an entire day. And that plays into Will Levis's narrative until he changes that. And he didn't have the opportunity to fully change that narrative last year because he's on his back half the time. He was throwing to wide receivers who couldn't get open. He was playing in a system that did not make a quarterback look good ever. So Will Levis now has the tools to be successful. Wait till you see something in this new system before you judge Will Levis or kind of count him out like it feels like the national media has already done. But it's up to Will Levis to prove it, because look, the second round label, obviously the 9-game sample size, it was ugly last year, and it's a Titans offense that nobody was tuning in to watch. But Will Levis is a lightning rod. He's exciting. He can throw the deep ball as well as anybody.
Yeah.
Give him a shot in a new system that caters to his tools. Like, make your decision once you see him in Callahan's system. Like, obviously, after last year, nobody's going to be, Will Levis, I think he can be a top 10 quarterback. Like, it just wasn't pretty last year.
Yeah, just like we said that, Treylon Burks is not going to get cut or traded, and you don't have to believe in Treylon Burks can both exist at the same time. You can say that Will Levis has the chance to be a franchise quarterback and earn it this season, but also not think he's a top 10 guy or a top 15 guy. Now, Anthony, who's been a hot topic on today's show, says, if you take away the Falcons and the Dolphins game, nobody would believe in this guy. I mean, if you take away Derrick Henry's 239-yard rushing performance and 4 touchdowns, including a 99-yard touchdown against the Jags on Thursday night, he wouldn't have been that great. What are you doing, man? Like they happened though. They happened. Anthony, if I take away that class that you passed in college, you wouldn't have your degree.
Yeah, and nobody ever wants to take away the bad game.
What is that even like? If I take away that movie that they acted in, they wouldn't have won that that Oscar. Like, what are you talking about, dude? Like, it happened. You have to count it. It happened.
And
that's
Gary's right in the
things.
chat. The Steelers game was also impressive. Watching him kind of lead the Titans down the field in the fourth quarter. Like, Will Levis didn't lose that game. He just ran out of time. It was one of those games. But yeah, nobody ever wants to take away the multi-pick games, right? They have their narrative about Will Levis. They'll do anything to do it, but that's the laziest way to kind of back your point up. Taking away his best performances. Will Levis, like, people forget, he got hurt at the end of training camp. He didn't really have a full offseason getting reps with the ones or the twos. Like, he was number 3 behind Malik Willis for most of the training camp. And he jumps in. That game against the Falcons, it should not have looked that easy, but it did, because Will Levis has a moxie and a confidence about him that maybe he shouldn't have, just, with the lack of experience that he had last season. But the dude balled out. That would have been the hardest game for him to succeed, and he dropped 4 touchdowns on the Falcons' heads. Mm-hmm. Like, put some respect on that, man.
Yeah. No. So Ed comes in with a question. He says, Jack and Austin, I have a question for you. How much leeway do you give Will Levis if he has a bad season for this upcoming season, and how many games does he play? I think, barring injury, Will Levis will get every opportunity he can to start every single game for the Tennessee Titans. Jack, do you agree with that much, that he will start 100%. Every game healthy?
If he's healthy, he'll play all 17. No doubt about it.
Right. Now, I said at one point this offseason that I think Will Levis will be the Titans starter this year and 2025. But I'm starting to backpedal a little bit on 2025 because of some of the homework that Sam did earlier this month, I believe it was, about quarterbacks drafted in the second round and how long of a leash they get to earn the chance to be a starter if the team's not successful. And so there's a parlay there. It's the quarterback doesn't prove, by passing colors, and the team loses games. Like, both things have to happen, because there is a scenario where Will Levis is not the quarterback in 2025. I don't think that's the likely scenario. I think it's more likely that he is. But I think he's absolutely going to get all of this season to prove his worth, because you have to come out of this season with an answer to one question. If there's one thing that you learn in 2024, if you're the Tennessee Titans, it's the answer on Will Levis. And I'm okay with the answer being no, as long as you learn it.
Yeah, exactly. It's sample size, right? And the guys behind him, like, what you have in Malik Willis. He's probably not the guy moving forward. He doesn't feel like an NFL caliber quarterback. Mason Rudolph's only on a 1-year deal. So what are you gaining by sitting Will Levis down if the season's already over and you're not in a playoff hunt, right? Like, you need to get every rep is important for Will Levis this year. It's his first season as the full-time starter. You need all 17 games before you make such a huge decision at the most important position in sports. So let him go out there. If the Titans are eliminated from the playoff contention and, around week 14, who cares? Let Will Levis go out there and sling it, because if you can find an answer on him fully after 17 games this year, good or bad, that sets the Titans up to make a decision next year, whether you want to roll with him again, you want to draft a guy, you want to sign a guy. Like, get an answer on Will Levis. That's the primary objective for this season, and then try and win the division. Like, you can still, by the way, get an answer on Will Levis and attempt to win the division this year, but the primary objective, figure out your quarterback spot, move forward next year, because next year, I believe, is your true window to potentially win a playoff game or two.
Totally agree. So, Jack, overall, you agree with all 3 of my Titans storylines that will be overblown in training camp. You agree? Yes,
I do. I do agree. I was going to add one, and this might be a hot take, because people are interested in the right side of the offensive line, but I truly am not interested in the right guard battle. Like, I don't think that one player is starkly different than the other in, Charles Radens and Daniel Brunskill. I don't believe that one player, has such a higher ceiling than another. Like, obviously, I want to see Radens out there, because that would mean the Titans are getting a return on their investment in that second-round draft pick. But all 3 of those players, it's like the triple Spider-Man meme. They're all pointing at each other. It feels like they're all kind of similar. Like, nobody's going to really set themselves apart. Whoever starts is probably going to be, a bottom half right guard in the league. So I'm not excited by the right guard spot. It's just, I feel like the battle at right guard is a position battle that I'm not particularly interested in. Is that wrong?
I would say it's probably wrong. I think you should be interested in the right guard position. Yeah.
But like none of those guys, no matter who wins it, is going to be that much better than the next.
Okay. So you just don't think there's that high of
I don't think there's a lot to gain, no matter who you end up starting out there. They're all kind of the same caliber player. Like Charles spent time at left guard last season. Radens, he's bounced around the offensive line. Brunskill started last year, did not particularly impress, but I don't think any of these three guys, no matter who wins the job, is going to go out there and produce a Pro Bowl caliber season. I just think it's going to be mediocre play at right guard, no matter who you end up rolling with.
All right. Fair enough. Okay, Jack, it is now time for the Monday age game. And I've got, you just mentioned a reference, a Spider-Man reference. And I've actually, this was not intentional. I had a Spider-Man themed age game, but we'll get to all that. But first, let me tell you guys about Wilson County Hyundai. WilsonCountyHyundai.com is where to go to help you save money on that new ride. Go see our friend Payne Bone and his team in Lebanon. Don't spend the downtown dollar on your new car. Go to Wilson County Hyundai, WilsonCountyHyundai.com. So with Zach being out for the foreseeable future, because we've got a lot of things nationally that we're discussing and building with our company. You know, I'm in charge of the Nashville market, which is why I stay in tune with the Titans. So when it comes to the age game, we will rotate who is the age game guesser and who is the age game master each and every Monday throughout this time until Zach returns. So, Jack, you did say Spider-Man meme, and I already had this person picked out, and I was going to use a different movie reference for it. But this is interesting because you're going to have to be very, very quick because it is this person's birthday. So happy birthday. What birthday is it for the Green Goblin actor Willem Dafoe? How old is Willem Dafoe today? No Googling, no Googling, no Googling. How old is the Green Goblin? I was going to use the Boondock Saints firefight picture, but then you dropped the Spider-Man meme, and so I had to adjust. So how old is Willem Dafoe? And I will get the first answer in the chat. Jack, if I'm assuming you've hidden the chat per the rules. Okay, so do you have a guess for how old Willem Dafoe is on this day being his birthday?
It feels like he was in his late 40s in that Spider-Man movie. Like that's so I'm going to add probably 20 years to that. Okay. I think that William Dafoe, excuse me.
Willem Dafoe, not William.
Willem. Okay, Willem Dafoe. I think he's 69 years old.
You think he's 69 years old?
I think he was 68 yesterday.
Mm-hmm. You think he was 68 yesterday, and today, July 22nd, is his birthday. So you think Willem Dafoe is 69 years old today. So
I'm between there and 71, but I'm going 69.
You're going 69. Like, you're not changing, are you?
Not changing.
Right, so you're locking that in. Here we go. Eric says 75 on Facebook. That was the first guess, but Eric is wrong. Titans Kyle says 63. Anthony Malley says 57. These are wrong. Billy Jones says 67. He is wrong. American Toff, 59. Incorrect. Jonathan Caverly, 78. Incorrect. David Brown, 73 is wrong. Lucas Burks and DeMarco both guessed 65. That is incorrect. Another 73, another 78, and another 75 coming in are all incorrect. Jack, we do have our first. Okay, we have our first correct answer, but the person followed up and said they saw it earlier. So fortunately for them, you know, that could happen. And that's the risk that I take by choosing a birthday, because that's how I wanted to simplify things for me. And so the correct answer, a happy 69th birthday.
Let's go
to Willem Dafoe. Jack, you are correct. You are the victor, and Orlando Jones is also the winner here. I will scroll down and find the next 69, and that would be LC Oliver, but I'm sorry, LC. Orlando was just faster. And so the saddest part about this for me is that now you're on the leaderboard. Sam is on the leaderboard, and I am not. And
I think this was my second try.
I know. I don't want to talk about
it. Let's go, Orlando.
Dan went on his first time, and you went your second, and I'm just an idiot. So that's how this is going to go. So maybe instead of like switching up the leader or who's doing the guessing, I should just have to guess every week until every Monday that I'm on the show until I get on there. Because you guys,
I'm fine with that. I'm fine. I got mine. I'm hoping you get your the whole team's got to eat here. Put my name on that damn list. Let's go. That's what I'm talking about.
This is so ridiculous. Did you see
that? Do you have the graphic?
I don't. That's on Zach's phone. And Zach's look. There's a lot of layers to it. There's a lot of names. He can't just pass that. You know the app we use. I wish he could just like pass me the project to update, but no, I do not have it. But I will send Zach a text right now. And say, and I'm sure he will get the biggest laugh out of it that Jack is on the board and I am not. So Jack,
I want to say it was a year off. I think it was a year off on Nick Cage last time. So this is really big for me.
Yep. So bummer for me. Yeah, I got to get together, and so that's all I can say. That's all I can say. But Willem Dafoe, 69.
That's going to get me through this Monday. That right there. That's the adrenaline rush I needed.
Other celebrity birthdays that I was trying to choose from. Alex Trebek, but he has passed away, unfortunately, 4 years ago today, but his birthday. Ezekiel Elliott, his birthday is today. I thought that'd be too easy, because
I don't know.
You want to try to give it. Think about it. You can easily put it together for Zeke.
29?
I think exactly. Yeah.
He is?
Yeah, he is.
Damn, I'm hot today.
Well, I mean, he's the same draft class as Derrick Henry. So you like another one that would have been good is he is truly getting too old for this bleep is Danny Glover. How old is Danny Glover today?
Danny Glover? Oh my gosh. I have no idea.
78 is Danny Glover. Maybe I should have scrolled down further on celebrity birthdays to give you Danny Glover.
Do I know who Danny Glover is? How do I know?
You absolutely know who Danny Glover is.
Oh, yeah, Danny Glover. Of course I know Danny Glover. Angels in the outfield.
That's one of them, yeah. All right, that's it. The crazy thing is there are more celebrity birthdays on this list, and I have no idea who the celebrity is. It makes me feel like I am getting too old for this. So I will we'll end the show on that, and make sure you do hit that like button. Please like the show before you go. It goes a long way for us. We'll be back tomorrow for a Tuesday show. Training camp press conference tomorrow, training camp practice on Wednesday, and we're off and running. Buck Rising live tonight for A to Z Sports Primetime at 7 p.m. Central Time, and we'll catch you later. Appreciate it as always.
Tighten Up Podcast with Mickey Ryan. Start your week right.